Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to answer the question, can you run a Pico 4 with an RTX 4070 to the point where maybe you could think about upgrading from a Reverb G2 even? So join me for the answer to that question after a quick word from our sponsor. Just to say, this video is proudly sponsored by FS Academy, which produce the best tutorials for this sim. Whether you are a GA pilot or airline captain, there's definitely a training package for you, absolutely. And I've done them myself, and I think they're absolutely fantastic, especially because they're from real world pilots and instructors, and they provide excellent resources such as charts, navigational aids, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you're interested in FS Academy, I'd highly recommend that everyone at least gives it a go once. All the links will be in the description below, and yeah, definitely check them out, and it's why they are sponsoring this video today. So welcome back folks, I am running a Stormforce 13400F Intel based CPU with a RTX 4070 graphics card. I'll show you on the screen now. It's a tiny computer compared to the one I usually run, but you know what? In this series of tests, I think you'll agree that so far, it's actually packing quite a punch, especially if you consider that this computer comes with a 3-year warranty from Stormforce, and you can get it for around £1,400. That's quite a difference from my £4,000 4090 base 13900K system that I usually run. So with that being said, I think this series of videos have been really important to find out if you can enjoy VR, and in many ways high-end VR, with an RTX 4070 base system. And the Pico 4 is one hell of a headset. In fact, it was my favourite headset of 2022. When I say that, I mean new headset. Of course, the Vari Aero is my favourite at that time. Now it's the Crystal. However, you know, in terms of the best bang for your buck, if you can run the Pico 4, then it really is a fantastic upgrade with its pancake lenses. So here we are in the Just Flight Hawk. Hopefully you can see the frame counter. It's taken me an age to get this VR footage looking the way it does, so you can see all the things that are going on with this computer. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go for a run around the Mac Loop. Well, actually, I'm going to call this the VR Flight Sim Guy Mac Loop because I actually don't know the route of the Mac Loop. So straight away, as I try and keep on the runway here, we're getting around 45 to 47 frames per second. I'll just show you my settings I'm running. Now you might think, is that it? Of course they're going to be much lower than my high-end system. But one thing I have learnt about this, and that is the fact that even though these... Oh, hang on a minute. ATC want to just talk to us. So yeah, even though my settings are much lower, I think you'd agree, this still looks absolutely fantastic. And that is one great thing about MSFS. It's very scalable. So here's the thing, right? I am running God mode, or godlike mode, which is the highest resolution possible in virtual desktop, running native resolution of the Pico 4. And I must say, I am impressed with the frames. However, I am using DLSS. So there's a few things I want to mention here, that the resolution does definitely suffer, as does the compression and artifacts, which is something that all wireless headsets do suffer with, or any headset that doesn't use a native HDMI port connection. So this will also depend on things like your bitrate and your internet connection. And if you can really whack that up, the quality actually is very, very nice. I do think Virtual Desktop is a fantastic piece of software that really, you know, showcases what the Pico 4 can do. In a moment, I'm going to try TAA mode, just so we can see what DLSS is doing for this GPU. But this is quite a, you know, an interesting scene here. We've got fairly heavy cloud. This is a real world weather at the time of recording, and the Just Flight Hawk, well, it continues to be sadly in many ways, the best trainer jet for MSFS. This has been out a long time now, but it's yet to be superseded. It is a bit heavy on frames actually as well, so I thought it's another good reason to use it. With this test, I'm also going to go to London City, so don't worry folks, I am going to do that. But let's just see what it's like nice and low. I purposely disabled motion reprojection so we can see the raw frames. That way it doesn't interfere with the results we're getting. And this is feeling very good. Very, very good indeed. I love that pass, by the way. I've been there many times on the bike. I will say though, folks, I have been in the Pimax Crystal all day. Well, 5 hours. And two things strike me straight away with the Pico 4. The first thing is active cooling. I love the fact that this headset has active cooling, just like the Aero. It's a very nice premium feature, considering this is not a premium priced headset. However, in terms of the clarity, it's a shocker. It's nowhere near that of the Crystal. I get asked many times, you know, how does the Pico 4 compare to the Crystal? I haven't done a comparison video, but to be honest, there's no point because they're two very different headsets. The Crystal is very much a high-end PC VR headset, really, even though technically it's going to be wireless as well, but we'll gloss over that. It's not even working at the moment. But yeah, in terms of the visuals, even using DLSS, the difference is huge. It's massive, to be honest. But anyway, I think this is quite a pleasant surprise. The fact that I'm running an RTX 4070, flying around Wales nice and low, recording in 4K, which takes off, unfortunately, about 5 frames per second at least. So without recording, I'm getting about 50 frames per second in this scene. With this computer, that's actually very, very good. Very impressive. So at this point, I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. I stated, when I first tried the Pico 4, that you're going to need a 4090 to enjoy it. Yeah, I was totally wrong with that. Turns out a 4070 can do the job as well. Not as well as a 4090, don't get me wrong. And we'll see in a minute when we change to TAA mode. But if you're happy to use DLSS with FSR sharpening, then this is definitely doable, and you do benefit with those lenses. The pancake lenses means you get a a massive sweet spot compared to the G2. Let's just now change to TAA mode, okay? Because I think this is where things might fall down quite a bit. So, actually, right, I'm at 90 there. Shall I leave it? I'll tell you what, I'll leave it at 90. And let's see what that's like. Oh, I can hear the computer making funny noises. Right, let's see. Right, so now TAA mode. That is a lot sharper now. That is much better. And you know what? All credit to this RTX 4070 system. It's not meant to be a high-end gaming computer. And sorry, by the way, if you can see any culling. I'm using favorited rendering. So if it looks a bit janky on the screen, that's why. But we're still managing 30 frames per second here. Now, looking at the ground, I can now see micro stuttering. That is to be expected, especially flying this fast at 30 frames per second. We are getting some really weird artifacts here as well from the favorited rendering. I'm not sure if that's showing on the image. Sorry if it is, guys. But this is a technical demonstration. It's not supposed to be a fancy looking video. Now, really, if I was using the Reverb G2 now, I would be getting a bit more frames here. Not by a massive amount, but I think I'd be getting around 40 frames per second. What about the visuals? The Reverb G2 is definitely sharper still in the centre. But I've always said that, guys. That's nothing new. However, what you do get with the Pico 4 is a massive sweet spot. So right now, if I just leave my, head centered, I can read everything on that panel. Everything. So that's the, the great thing about the Pico 4 is the lenses. That looks pretty damn nice, that. Nearly swore then. That looks really good. So if you think about this for a moment, guys, this Stormforce computer at £1,400, and it might be less than that because I might have a discount. And if that is the case, I'll have it linked in the description below. But let's say £1,400 for, you know, the computer, and what, £350 or so? Is it 370? Say 350 because my math is rubbish. Wow. That's around £1,700 all in. That's a VR headset and obviously your system. And then the price of the sim and maybe a joystick or something. This is a pretty amazing experience considering you're well under £2,000. That's definitely something to consider, I think. Anyway, let's now go to London City and see what kind of frames we get there. See you in a moment. Right, for our final test, we're in the PC breaker zone. London City. Oh my goodness me. Computers all over the world shudder at the thought of MSFS at London City. They do, it's a known fact. It is the, you know, the modern crisis of the VR world. If you don't know what Crisis is, it used to be a game. I used to love that game. And it used to kill every single computer out there. MSFS is the modern day Crisis. Oh, it feels weird flying this thing with a joystick, but for this test it will do. So yeah, we're getting around sort of between mid-30s to high 30s. And one thing that I have noticed straight away, I'm not sure if this video is out yet, but this is pretty much the same performance as using the Pimax crystal. So I think that's a really important thing to understand, guys, and I say this all the time. You are going to pay dearly for using a wireless PC VR headset. Or say, you know, using it on link with a USB-C cable, because the GPU has to do lots of encoding. So what that means is I'm getting a lot less of an experience here in terms of the visuals than if I had a Pimax crystal. This is running the same in terms of the performance as the crystal, but with a lot lower visual fidelity. I think that is an interesting point to make, because, you know, headsets without a display port, because another one's coming soon, the Quest 3, although it might have better technology, at the end of the day it's still going to need encoding, and it's going to need a lot more power from your GPU. So if you are able to save a bit more, I would recommend the crystal, to be honest, even with this computer. But if you're really strapped for cash and you really want to get into VR, I would definitely recommend this system. And I think I would still go with the Reverb G2 as my conclusion to this test. Unless you really want those pancake lenses, I do think the Reverb G2 would perform better overall than this headset. But I will maintain I was wrong. You can run the Pico 4 in godlike mode with a 4070. I mean, you really are pushing it, without a doubt, to the maximum, but clearly it is possible. And the great thing about flight simulation is that you don't need super high frame rate to enjoy it. So I hope that test has been interesting for you guys. Please do let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more from this computer. A massive shout out to Stormforce for loaning this out, you know, because I think it's been a really interesting series of videos. Overall, I'm absolutely, like, quite shocked with what it can do for the price. Absolutely. Take care, folks. Feel free to subscribe and all that kind of thing if you haven't already. I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.